Happy Monday, Elkhart County Positive Parents. Thanks for joining us here today on Triple P Live. So today you can see we have a special guest. And before I say anything more, I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Hey, Elkhart County. My name is Rebecca Shetler-Fast, and I direct Elkhart County's system of care, and we're called The Source. And it's a pleasure to be here today.
Thank you. And we're going to talk more toward the end about what that means. Like, what is system of care? What is the source? So hang in there with us, because we thought we'll first talk about the important things, which is supporting our children. And how do we help our children to grow up, be happy, healthy, responsible adults, and how do we help them to be happy and healthy now? So what kinds of ideas do you have for us, Rebecca?
Great question, Anna. Well, first I'll say, as a system of care, our work is making sure that kids in the county have access to the mental health supports they need, and parents have access to the supports that their kids need. And if we can, trying to make sure that we're moving kind of upstream so that when kids are having those kind of first challenging moments, behaviors, that the system is working well. All the organizations like Triple P and many others in the community are there to meet those needs, and we as a community are there. And that if there's a gap, that we help to fill that. So that's what the system of care does. So I'm here today as a mental health clinician and a parent. I have two kids as well. And the good news about kids' mental health is a whole spectrum, from having a lot of challenges to just having a bad day. And for parents, there's a lot we can do to help what I call protective factors to help protect your kids, or another way of putting it is help your kids be resilient or to be able to bounce back from hard things as parents. So honestly, there's a few kind of core things that, if it's okay with you, Anna, I'm just going to kind of go through some examples.
Tell us.
So the first one is having access to a sensitive and caring adult. You know, we probably all heard that statistic that it only takes one positive adult to make an impact on a kid. So that could be a parent, that could be a grandparent, a teacher, a coach. But it's something that, you know, if you're listening as a parent, you can do, thinking about being responsive to your kids' needs, telling them you love them. It's also something, if you're watching this and thinking, you know, I don't have kids, but how can I help kids in the community? Being that positive adult has an incredible impact on a kid's kind of future. And that's why mentor programs exist. So it's another good reason to volunteer and engage. Another protective factor, and this I think is a good kind of reminder, it's a simple one: meeting basic needs. That, you know, being able to have a safe, dry, warm, or cool place for a kid to stay, having food, having the clothes they need, that's a really important factor in kids being okay emotionally. And it's really important. And, you know, sometimes if you haven't dealt with not having that, we may not relate to that. But really, for kids, the fact that they can have a safe place and they can have their basic needs met, that is very, very important for them feeling safe and to do well. Another one is emotional support for kids. So kids have a whole range of emotions. We know that, and that's a normal thing, and that's a good thing. Emotions are good. Being able to help kids process those, and I'm sure, and Triple P has a lot of resources on that. The more you can help kids work on those and normalize emotions are part of life, and be part of your kid working through those. That's really, really helpful for our kids. And then just two more that I want to emphasize. One is that getting support yourself for your own well-being is really, really important. You know, when you're flying on airplanes and they always have the message that, you know, put on your own mask first. Mental health works a lot like that. One of the biggest kind of risk factors for kids is when their parents are struggling with mental health things. And we don't even need to put it in extreme terms, but when their parents are struggling, that trickles down to kids. And so the message there is not that you should feel bad, but that you should take care of yourself first. So put on your oxygen mask. And so that might mean basic things like taking time away from kids, which especially in the pandemic is really important to do that safely. And taking care of your own needs. And sometimes people use terms like self-care. Sometimes they talk about exercise or healthy eating or friendships. There's a lot of ways of taking care of yourself, all the way to talking with a counselor or a therapist. But doing that first is going to help your kid. And then the last thing that connects very much to COVID is social connectedness. That kids who are connected do better and are more resilient. So again, that ability to bounce back from tough things. And so there's a lot of ways of helping your kids be socially connected that can't always be in person, and that's okay. But to do that safely with extended family members, connecting through, if you have a faith community, helping kids and as parents kind of modeling that. That's really helpful for kids when they go through tougher times.
And being part of something. So let me see if
Mhm.
I've got this. So having a safe, loving, caring grown up in your life somewhere,
Mhm.
having your basic needs met. So
Mhm.
hopefully we just give ourselves credit for some of these things
Hopefully,
that we're
hopefully you
already
can say
doing.
check. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let me think. What was number 3?
Emotional support for kids.
Emotional support for kids.
Yep, meeting them where they're at, you know, they're
Yep.
having a bad day. We don't want to dismiss that. We want to figure out what's going on and support them. And feelings are a normal part of life for kids.
Accepting them and helping them work through
Yeah.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
And 5 was being socially connected, and 4 was
Taking care of your own needs.
taking care of your own needs,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
one of our
especially
big triple P
emotionally.
principles too.
Oh, good. Okay.
And it
Yeah.
can feel selfish to do that, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it is something we're doing
Face
for
mask.
our children
Yeah.
as much as it doesn't feel that way.
Yeah, or the oxygen mask, you know, like you got to take care of yourself first. And again, when we look at the public health research about what makes a kid more likely to have mental health challenges, it is the parent having an untreated mental health challenge. So that's getting a little bit more serious, but I think it's an important connection to remember for parents when you're hesitant that helps your kid too.
Yeah, and like you said, don't feel bad, just take care of it,
Mhm.
which is also great modeling for your child, that when we
Yeah.
have troubles, we reach out to somebody and we talk to
Yeah.
somebody and we
Just like I want you to. Yeah, exactly. That's a really nice way of putting it,
yeah.
because stigma is a lot of can be a challenge. A lot of
Mhm.
people associate like getting help or that's something that we shouldn't do. So for a kid, seeing a parent taking care of themselves or asking for help is really powerful.
Yeah. So in terms of that being that safe, loving, caring person, presumably everybody who's watching is here because they want to be that. Do you have any
Hmm.
specific, like what can we do in our homes that can
Hmm.
create that sort of sense of emotional safety and having a reliable person in your life? Do you have specifics on that?
You know, the good thing on a public health level, the research is very clear that they're not like kind of key core things, but interaction and direct time with kids. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Relationship trauma informed. Anyways, there's a trauma informed kind of parenting intervention, and it says that for every kid, give them 10 minutes of time where they lead the play in a day. And I think about that because it's a pretty small thing, but busy parents, stressed
Mhm.
parents, again, I'm a parent, I can relate. Sometimes that's hard to think about doing, but let a kid lead you in an activity or play. What does that look like?
Mhm.
So I think being a sensitive and responsive caregiver, a lot of that looks like kind of taking the lead from kids part of the
Mhm.
time. That might be one way of doing that, but I think there's a lot of ways of connecting with kids and showing them that they're safe and they're loved. So I think that can play out in many, many, many ways. And I know, again, in the last year, there's been a lot of stress for parents. And so I want to emphasize that kids know that, and it doesn't need to be, necessarily taking them out for big meals or buying them things, but being consistent, asking them a question, tucking them in, all of those things are really
Mhm.
powerful for kids. And so in some ways, it doesn't take a lot
Yeah,
as
which
well
is
to
so
do that.
encouraging. It's not like we have to do these specific things,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it'll look different for everybody,
yeah,
but kids will
absolutely.
feel it when that
They'll
love
feel
and
it. Yeah,
support is
yeah.
there. So,
And most parents
so
really do that naturally, every
right,
day. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So we should know that those things we're doing really are huge. They're
very
actually really
important,
important. Yeah.
foundational. Absolutely. Yes.
So then, if my child does go through something, like I want to protect my kids, I never want them to go through anything hard, but I am aware that this happens and
Yeah.
has happened. What are what are some things if our child has gone through something difficult or is having a particularly hard space in their life? What do you recommend at those times?
It's a good question, and the reason that these kind of things are called protective factors, they can be protective, but they also are sort of what you would do after a kid has gone through a tough time. So that's a nice thing that if you're kind of doing these core things to build resilience, they're also going to help a kid after, let's say, a tough time, a stressful event, a traumatic event. One of the interesting things about kids and trauma in particular, but everyone, is that our tendency, and it's something to remember as a parent, is that we're wired to bounce back, even from really bad situations. And again, thinking about COVID-19 and keeping that in mind, I think I would add to this list of protective factors, keeping in your head the idea and the hope that my kid's going to bounce back. They're going to be okay. because for most kids, that's really the case. And it's a kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. If I'm a parent and I'm like, oh, my kid's sick and damaged and they're forever traumatized, that's more likely to be the case. So we want to give kids time to process, challenging events. We want to let, negative events, negative emotions, none of that's bad. Again, that's part of life. We don't want to let our own fears get in the way. They're going to process through them. And we want to kind of maintain that hope that they're going to bounce back, that most kids do. And that given time and some good support and routines, that they're going to be okay. And, I say that as a trauma expert, because most people do. And that's the really remarkable thing. From even kind of horrific traumas, they do. And so I know that the stressful events, if we keep holding on to that sense that kids are going to be okay, many, many, many of them will. And for the ones that really, as a parent, you're concerned, like, hey, my kid never kind of sleeping keeps being off, or their mood is off, and I'm worried. I would also say, please go with your gut. I mean, you as a parent know your kids. And so then there are services, and we call those more kind of mental health services and more systems that we can help your kid with. And there's really no wrong door in Elkhart County. There's so many organizations, from schools to Triple P to CAPS to Oakland, the Source, that are any organization really is going to help you and your kids get more specialized care if they need more counseling or therapy to kind of help get through that hard event. So that's always there. My message is not to ignore that, but assume that your kid is going to be resilient. And if you're concerned, then there's many, many services and options out there in our community.
And in the meantime, keeping through all of that, after a trauma or something difficult, keeping those routines, keeping that consistency, I mean, I would say from a Triple P end, like keeping your discipline firm and gentle, and not sort of throwing everything out because, oh my goodness, this was so hard, but
absolutely, Anna,
maintaining those routines. And then if you're concerned, reach out to any of us.
Reach out to someone. There's so, and there's so many. I mean, every organization is an open door. We have a kind of a phrase we like to say, it's okay to ask. It really is okay to ask. And we have many really, really great resources and people that want to help, even to just answer your questions as a parent. Ask Triple P, is this normal? It's been a few weeks since this happened. People are happy to help and give you some advice and kind of suggest what might be the next step. And really feel free. If you feel like you're concerned about something, ask the question. It's always okay. Our community will always, respond and help you.
And as crazy as it sounds, you're probably not the only one.
That's
sometimes you're in these situations that just feel like, but actually, really, probably there are many other people experiencing the same thing. And
absolutely
talking about.
That's a great.
So you mentioned some of these resources. Like, what do you guys have any events coming up? What do you want us to know about in the community?
Okay, well, first, I'm going to repeat, there really is no wrong door in Elkhart County. We have a wonderful community with people who want to help, especially kids and families. We do that really well. And so, ask an organization about, whether it's a faith organization, a church, a nonprofit. So our website has a lot of resources listed. So I'll just note that. The Source, elkhartcounty.org. Another great one to go to is Oakland, especially if you're concerned, thinking, my kid's mood, my kid's sleep, my kid's eating, it's not feeling like it's normal. I'm worried. And so Oakland they're happy to help you with that. And those are more formal mental health services. So if you're in Elkhart County, that's 574-533-1234. That's we call their access line. And that's where you would get in and start kind of getting into some more formal systems. But I would also note that there's a lot of kind of places you can engage as a parent in the community. So CAPS is another great organization. And we partnered with them recently on Elkhart Prevent 360, which is a campaign to help prevent child abuse in our county. And so if you're a parent, one of the things you can do, one of many things, is sign up for their online training in child abuse prevention, called Stewards of Children. So you can find that on the Source website, on the CAPS website. Our goal is to train 100 adults in 100 days. So that's kind of part of how you can contribute to be part of making this community really safe for your kids. The other thing, and I think you're part of this, Anna, is parent cafes, which is a really great way of getting support and some training as a parent, and that will be coming up too. And those will be on Source and I think CAPS websites as well as a few other organizations.
Perfect.
Or send us an email. I mean, we are always happy to get you connected and to help you find the resources that you're looking for and answer questions.
Yeah, and Prevent 360, I mean, that's intended for coaches or Sunday school teachers or parents, or so anybody,
Yeah.
is that a
Anyone,
1 hour training, I think?
I think it's a 1 hour training.
1 hour
Yeah.
training.
Yeah.
So,
But if you want to contribute to the community, there's no restrictions. If you're an
yep,
adult, that's a great way
yeah.
to do it.
So that's a really, that's a really great thing. And then we also right now have this parent caregiver survey that is a
Great.
collaboration of the Source and Triple
Mhm.
P and CAPS, and we're trying to find out from 2,000 parents in the county and caregivers, where do you get help? Where would you like to get help? What would be helpful to
Mhm.
you? Where are there gaps? So that's also, I know, on the Triple P Facebook page.
Yeah,
You probably have it too.
we do. Yep. Everyone's got the
So
survey out. Yeah, we want to hear from
yeah,
parents. Mhm.
yeah. So that is another way that, especially if, that's a good way to get your voice heard and get started. So do you have any other wisdom thoughts for us for today on supporting our children?
I think as I think through it, kind of reiterating a few key points. One is that as a parent, it's been a hard year for parents of kids of all ages, whether they're little or middle-aged or teenagers. It's been hard. And so I think, you should give yourself a break as a parent. There are many things that you're probably doing that are helpful to your kids that protect them. And as part of that, I really want people to remember that, most kids really do bounce back. And so it's been a tough year, but they're going to be okay. Kids are so wired, even more than adults, to be resilient and to get through hard times. And then with that being said, if you're concerned, we are here for you. And every organization who serves kids is here for you in the county. There's no wrong door, and it's always okay to ask. If you have questions or you're worried, please don't suffer in silence if your family needs help or your kids are hurting. We want you to know that we're here for you and we have really good services to help and we can help you. So just kind of urging people to also, come in and let us help you and walk with you.
And that social connectedness you talk about as a protective factor,
Yeah.
that's about connecting, and
That's about connecting.
let's do that.
Or tell other people if your family is doing well, but you see others are struggling, encourage them to get help, to be connected as well. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so on that note, please like or share this video because that's how I don't know, the Facebook algorithm, that's how it gets out there so more people can see it, and also get that kind of support and help. If you thought this was helpful, give us a call at P 574-226-0160. The Source Facebook page, that's what we've been saying over and over. You can't go wrong, so try that out. Have a great week. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, Rebecca.
Thanks, Anna.